Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a beginner-oriented video. If you're an experienced player watching this, please give me your critique. I'm sure there'll be plenty. But I'm talking about Phoenix, all about Phoenix, where you get them, how you use them, and more importantly, why do you want to get them early? Because a lot of people think you don't need to. Star Wars Dad actually made a video a little while ago saying, don't farm Phoenix, new players. Why are you farming Phoenix? But he actually went back on it a few weeks later because he has his own new account and he said, okay, actually, maybe you should farm Phoenix. Because he was missing Thrawn and Phoenix would have been nice to have. They're very easy to get early on. So even people that are critical of that approach, it's a very old approach, but I think it still works. They might come around to it. One reason you want to get them early is they're very easy to get. Cantina 2B is very early on in the Cantina. You can get there pretty fast with beginner characters. Same thing with Hera 1F. You can start farming this team so early, and they're all spread out in different resources except Hera and Ezra on Cantina, but that's a fast farm anyway. Chopper, you can get him in the Cantina Battle store. Zeb, you get him in the Squad Arena store, or Galactic War store for 10 shards each. So it'll only take a few weeks to get him. He'll be pretty fast. And then Kanan in the Squad Arena store for 10 shards. So you can farm them pretty fast. You can probably get them all to 7 stars within like a month. And then your gear would have to cap out at like gear 8. Don't pay attention to my gear levels. I'm end game, so that's not going to be indicative. You want to cap them out at gear 8 as a newer player for the minimum to unlock Thrawn. But along the way, you're going to just be unlocking Palpatine in like the level 50 to 60 something range, and it's going to be very satisfying because it takes a long time to unlock characters in this game to farm them up. And the legendaries, the easy ones, they're just like bonus extra characters that you don't have to waste time farming nodes on specifically. So it's very satisfying to get them that way. You can get Palpatine in the Journey Guide and Thrawn. Yeah, so here's Palpatine. For tier 5, which is where you unlock him, they recommend level 60 plus. You could probably do it just under 60 or so. And yes, you can do it with any rebels, but the other rebels you could get would be less cohesive. Like, you could do it with CLS requirements, but they're less cohesive. They're not going to help you very, very early on. We're talking about very, very early, just escort you through those beginning stages of the game. And you just wouldn't get them as quickly. Phoenix is faster to farm in that regard, and just super easy to unlock. And once you get Palpatine, it's kind of a game changer for an early account. He is so much fun to use. And the same level gate applies to Thrawn. They recommend level 60 plus. You could probably do it. It's harder than Palpatine, so you could probably do it just a little bit over 60. It's probably a safe way to go. But unlike Palpatine, you have to have Phoenix to unlock Thrawn. There's no other choice. And make no mistake, don't be beating your head against the wall trying to unlock him to 7 stars as fast as possible. It's going to take some time before you unlock him at 7 stars because it is a more challenging event. You probably need your Phoenix at level 82 is a good cutoff point for some of the Omega abilities. You don't need any Zetas. And if you try it's going to be hard, but you can do them at all gear 8. If you're frustrated, maybe take Ezra gear 9. Getting Thrawn for a beginner player, having him at 5 stars is all you need. 6 stars and 7 star don't get that much as far as stats, and 7 stars only important late game because that's the gate to gear 12. And if you're pushing gear 12, it shouldn't be too much of a sacrifice to get your Phoenix to gear 8 and bang your head against the wall to try to finish off Thrawn. So very good early game player. Early game character, and he only needs to be 5 stars for your practical use in the beginning. And the last, and maybe the middle, journey guide item that Phoenix helps you with is unlocking Yoda. Yoda just requires 5 Jedi at 5 stars to unlock, and then you can start using him. And that's pretty easy. You can finish that off around level 60. And you can use any Jedi, but it's very efficient since you're already using Ezra and Kanan for 2 other legendaries. You're going to have them up already. And then there's some other characters that you're going to be wanting, or it'll be easy to farm early, like Mace Windu, maybe Old Ben, Ahsoka Tano Fulcrum, Bastila Shan's a great leader. I talked about it all in my free-to-play farming guide. But there's a lot of Jedi that you're gonna get later, and it's just quick because it's an easy event. So just having some Jedi at 7 stars already, are really gonna help you get Yoda. And once you have Yoda, and then also if you have Palpatine, Phoenix isn't gonna be your main driving team in all areas of the game. Palpatine team is head and shoulders better. A Jedi team is head and shoulders better. Once you have Yoda, especially because he's your damage dealer, and you can start kind of tabling Phoenix, and then when you're a high enough level and you're like, okay, I really want Thrawn at 7 stars, then you gear up your Phoenix a little bit. But yeah, you don't have to like push Phoenix hardcore once you get all these Journey Guide characters at 5 stars. Another thing that Phoenix is very useful for early on, once you unlock Galactic War at level 40, they have a lot of sustain. They regenerate their health, they regenerate their protection, and very, very early on, that's kind of hard to come by. Even if you have a good team, they might dwindle over time, they don't have enough protection or health recovery, and you might not be able to get as far in Galactic War. You can use your whole roster in Galactic War, but Phoenix was definitely a very useful one early on to get through it. And some of your other teams might struggle early. So now that we finished talking about why you want to get Phoenix early, we're going to talk about how you use them. I go over some of their mechanics, and then I'm going to show you some gameplay, or go through it and actually show the mechanics in action. As far as stats, once you unlock level 50, you unlock mods, but you don't have full access to every type of mod to farm. But once you can get to like offense-oriented stats, you farm those for Ezra, like offense on the cross. And if you don't know mods well, just, I don't know, don't worry about it too much. They're very important, but I'm not going to deep dive on them now. You want crit damage, something with damage on the 2 here, the triangle and the cross. And then the rest of them, they're kind of set stats. For primaries, you want a speed arrow if you can. And then the second most important stat character is probably Kanan. He's your best tank. He recovers health a lot, so you want a lot of health on him. Health mods are probably the most beginner-friendly type of mods, so you can have all health sets with health primaries on them, just as much health as you can find to help him keep your team alive. But as far as the key mechanics, we got to start with the leadership. So here's leadership. It has all Phoenix allies share their uniques, and it can get kind of confusing at first, but once you get used to it, it's very nice. A lot of it has to do with survivability, recovering health, and protection. Then whenever Phoenix allies use special abilities to get 20% turn meter, and that's the variable part. That's going to change over time. So when she's brand new and you unlock her, it's 5%. Every level you unlock, which are all worth it as soon as you can get up to 20%. And then once you have the Omega, which is later on, you get turn meter gain doubled if your allies have less than full health, but that's not a good situation if you're under full health. Another interesting thing that you want to keep an eye on is she inflicts an expose on her basic, and that's even at level 1. So you're going to be wanting to call her to assist with Ezra. So his second ability, let's look at the level 1 variation. He calls an ally to assist, and they each get a bonus based on their role. There's no other attackers in the lineup we're using. We're not using Sabine, so you can either get a tank or a support. If your tanks are in dire straits, if they're getting low, you might want to call them to get some protection up on Ezra and the tank. Protection up is a percentage of your health that just gives a bonus protection over your head in a purple bar. But usually I like to call support because you get 20% turn meter. And Ezra and Hera work well together, calling each other to assist, and that's where you're going to get your most damage, as you'll see. Hera also has an assist ability, which increases the amount of extra damage the character does as you progress along, capping out at 35% more damage before you get the Zeta, which I would never recommend doing. She's also got backup plan. You're not going to use this very often if a character is getting low on health. You want to put this on them on Hera's turn, and then it's like free revive. They're going to come back. Going back to Ezra, these are the offense-oriented characters. This is how you're going to get through. Ezra's middle ability is very useful. It dispels buffs on enemies, but I actually prefer to use it on characters that don't have any buffs, because when they have no buffs, you get 50% turn meter, and you're cycling through his turns. Easyyy, you want to be taking as many turns as possible, so you do want extra speed on the secondaries for his mods if you can, but it's very hard very early, which is what this guide is aimed at. And then he's also getting turn meter from his assist if you call Hera or Chopper too. So you can get a lot of turns with Easyyy. And then his level set, his basic is great. Early on, he has a 20% chance to attack again, but if he isn't debuffed, it's up to 40. As you level it up, you're going to get extra double hit chance, which is very nice. So whenever you hit that double hit as a brand new player, it's very satisfying. And his unique, which is shared with everyone, he gains 10% offense at the end of his turn. So after 4 turns, he has plus 40% offense. And everyone else gets that, but they don't do a ton of offense, honestly. And the other three, these guys are mainly about survivability. I'm going to look at all their uniques first. So Kanan's unique, he has 70% counter chance and recovers 25% health upon getting debuffed. Early in the game, you don't have much protection, so health is mostly what you're dealing with, so this is very helpful there. So that's great survivability, and the counterattacks are very nice. But actually, let me look at the levels of that ability. So when you start out, 30% counter chance and 10% health recovery. So they get better over time as you level up. But it's very, I don't know, hard to allocate those ability mats early on. Zeb's unique. He gets bonus protection equal to his max health, or bonus max protection. So this is very helpful. So you kind of want health sets on the team in general if you don't have anything else. It's helpful for the survivability, except Easyyy, you want a lot of offense. Then he recovers 50% protection at the start of his turn. If he's debuffed, it's doubled. I don't know how that translates to other characters. If they're debuffed or if he's debuffed, they get double. But it's still nice protection recovery. And then Chopper recovers 15% of max health at the very beginning. It's 5%. And he's getting protection up whenever he gets damaged by an attack. This Omega is pretty good eventually, but it's like it adds a chance for him to assist on anyone's attack. Yeah, use an ability during their turn, so he's going to come in and do extra attacks, which helps with damage, but that's later on. So yeah, those three gain a lot of survivability, and they spread it to the whole team, so that's where you get a lot of sustain for things like Galactic Chore. And then Kanan, it's just this middle ability, you're going to taunt, so everyone's going to be forced to attack him instead of your more fragile allies, and he can dispel debuffs on another ally. What increases with the level for this is just the damage. He doesn't do much damage anyway, so this is great right out the gate. And his basic, he inflicts offense down, which is helpful sometimes. And then this ability, he's just healing him, cleansing himself with another ally and getting some protection up, which is kind of nice for survivability. I'm getting close to being done looking at the kits for people. But it's important to understand what's going on. I already looked at that. Chopper, it's kind of weird. When you take his turn, it's usually like, okay, whatever. You can either taunt, and Chopper gets evasion while he's taunting. It's kind of nice to have the two taunts, and Chopper dodges a lot on that turn, but this is a situational ability. If you see a lot of buffs on an enemy, you can use this and dispel them, and then the whole enemy team loses turn meter, which is nice, and then he gets some protection. It's especially good on droids because it stuns them. Otherwise, if you're not taunting and there's no buffs, you're just going to use a basic, and it gives someone offense up, defense up, or speed up at random. So it's kind of nice when he's assisting with that Omega because he's giving a lot of the buffs out, but that doesn't really matter because that comes so much later. It doesn't help you early game. And last is Zeb, and a lot of people get down on Zeb. They think he's not as useful. But I love Zeb. If you can give him potency, do it, because he does great debuffs. On his basic, he dazes the enemy, which means they can't attack out of turn or gain bonus turn meter. But if they're already dazed, staggered, or exposed, he stuns them for 1 turn. So that is very nice, and he can inflict daze with the basic. He can inflict stagger with this ability. And if they're Hera can expose people with her basics, so that can work too. The second ability, this is just for extra survivability. You can get Retribution if you have debuffs, which is kind of nice, or Tenacity up if you don't. But I don't recommend using that as much. A lot of times you might want to offer a basic. So that is all the mechanics we're going to talk about. Sabine is the one we ignore because she's longer to farm. She's on a hard node with normal energy, which you want to be using for other characters early on. And she doesn't fit as well with her unique in the team. So let's do some gameplay. So as an endgame account, it's kind of hard for me to share relatable gameplay. As a new player, your Phoenix is going to look way different. The enemies are going to look way different, but a lot of the mechanics can translate over, so that's just why I want to demonstrate. So I'm attacking the last Cantina node in the game that has all Gear 12 enemies. I have a Relic, Ezra, and Hera because of various reasons, so I have a little bit of an advantage, but I don't have any Zetas on the team, which I never recommend any Phoenix Zetas. So here, my whole team's, I don't have great mods, they're not super fast. But I'd like to open up with the second special ability because, see, he gained 50% off turn meter because 5s didn't have a buff. And then with Hera's leadership, he gains an extra 20% turn meter. So he got 70% turn meter from that. They have no buffs on the enemy team, and Chopper is up. So I could taunt. And I think I will do that because Kanan is not going to get to his turn yet. And I just want him doing that. Now Hera's turn. First option we use is probably the call to assist. Unless someone's dying, you don't need to use that. So we're going to call Ezra, of course. And by the way, I recommend the order that you set the team, the lineup like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It doesn't always matter, but I like Ezra in the second spot, so he's just the easiest one to click on. If I'm trying to select Chopper or Kanan in this game, you might fat finger it and hit Zeb or Hera. So I just like the character I want to call this assist the most in this second spot. And we see 5s is getting pretty full in turn meter, so I'm going to try to stagger him. Oh, well, he got his turn. But here, he's almost dead, and I'm going to get around to some more turns, so I'm going to call Hera to assist, get an expose, and get more damage like that. Now I can taunt with Kanan. He doesn't do much damage. And now it's time to finish off 5s. They have a buff, and I don't really care too much about it. So I'm going to save my Flourish for the next wave. Just do the basic, take him out, on to the next wave. And this is not a particularly challenging battle, but I'm just showing the mechanics. So I don't need any Dispel, so I'm going to use the basic and get a random buff. So Chopper gave himself speed up. That's okay. I don't need any extra survivability, so I'm not going to use this. With Zeb, I'll just basic. Now, Tarkin cannot gain turn meter. I also don't need healing or protection there, so I'll use that basic and get offense down on him. Just another basic with Chopper. And now we can get some real damage with Ezra, calling him to assist. No buffs, so I'm going to use Flourish. And of course you can use that as a Dispel if there's a Taunter. That's probably very helpful to do. And now call Hera to assist again, get all that extra turn meter and extra damage. I don't think the exposed landed there, but still the best one to call to assist in my opinion. Or Zeb. If someone's like dazed already, you might want to call Zeb and stun them. So this team, this is where their actual threats are, and like it's conceivable I'd lose, but I do have a couple relic characters, so not really. So we're going to go after Darth Vader first. He's probably the biggest threat. Got a daze on him. No buffs, so this will be nice. Turn meter gain. I don't have any taunts up, so I'm going to just taunt with Chopper. I don't want Ezra getting shocked from Palpatine, so I want Chopper taunting. I'll just do an extra taunt. So Palpatine's close to his turn. And there's the counter chance coming in. We finally got attacked. That's from Kanan's unique. So that's one of the higher priorities to level up, because that counter chance is very nice. And just to show how this works, I'll put it on Kanan. So that's what the backup plan looks like. Recover some health each turn, but Oh, that can't be prevented. So if you got annihilated, like by Nihilus or something, you come back. There's some buffs there, so I'm going to demonstrate this. I reduce their turn meter, so that's pretty helpful. If you see a lot of buffs, definitely go for that ability. And I can just basic on Palpatine, use the Flourish, get tons of turn meter. And Chopper has some debuffs, so I'm going to use my second ability. And, okay, no, that one doesn't cleanse. The Taunt cleanses, but I give him some protection on. And then call Hera. Got the Expose, which is an extra 20% health damage. There we go. Got the win. Easier with a very developed team, but that is just how you use them in practice. Next thing I want to briefly touch on is they do have ships, but they're not particularly high priority for an early game account, so don't farm them early. I have a recommended farming order for every type of character, every type of resource in my farming guide, so stick to that. But when you do get them unlocked and finally up to like 7 stars or 5 stars, you can unlock Chimera, which is a decent ship. It's not my first priority. I recommend using Executrix with Geonosians into Malevolence ships. But they are there. They're decent ships. And if you're going to only get one, you might as well get Phantom, because the reinforcement ability, once you get to 5 stars, you reduce the cooldown of call reinforcement on your allied ship, which really works with anything, even early game. So that is it for Phoenix. I've gotten a lot of questions about Phoenix on my journey guide from new players, like when do I farm them up to 7 stars. So hopefully this helped out with that. You do want to get them up to 7 stars, but you want to take your time unlocking Palpatine and Thrawn at 7 stars, because there's other more pressing things. So just follow the specific farming order in my journey guide for that, and try to power up the stronger teams like Jedi and Empire, Imperial Troopers, even Geonosians, Bounty Hunters, before you focus on giving a lot of extra gear to Phoenix. Once you can use other teams, use them. And then Phoenix gets you all the way up through Thrawn, and then that's it. But there's no extreme rush for 7 star, but it is something you want to get eventually. Anyway, I hope this helped for new players especially, and I hope it explains my thought process on why you still want to get Phoenix in 2023. Thanks for watching. Give a thumb up if you enjoyed, and let me know what you think. Subscribe if you haven't already. Appreciate it, guys.